Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Hare Krishna. No need to translate them. I've been traveling in Serbia, Bosnia, now Croatia in the last more than 2 weeks. From Hungary I first went to Subotica, then Beograd, then Sombor, then again to Hungary, then to, what's that town? Sounds like Čekovic? Čekovic. Zagreb, Bihać, Sarajevo, Split, Zadar, and to Vienna. So it's very nice to see so many devotees in all these towns. So many people taking interest in Krishna consciousness. Not only taking interest, but taking it up very seriously. Once in London, a newspaper reporter asked Prabhupada what his mission is, why he was always traveling in his old age to all the different centers. Srila Prabhupada said, when I see that all these young people are getting life in Krishna consciousness, it gives me also life. Because formerly these young people were wasting their lives completely. Hopeless, frustrated, no purpose in them. Another time, Prabhupada in Dallas, newspaper reporters from TV, journalists were questioning Prabhupada. And he was asked, why are you doing this? So Prabhupada said, I'm converting the hippies to happies. Doesn't translate so well in English. Nowadays, of course, not only young people coming to Krishna consciousness. In those days, it was mostly people in their teens and 20s coming. That a newspaper reporter also asked Prabhupada about that. Why is it mostly young people in your movement? So Prabhupada asked the newspaper reporter, why is it mostly young people in the university? And the journalist replied, because that is the age for learning. Prabhupada said, that's why it's mostly young people in our movement. That is the age for learning. Of course, Krishna consciousness is not restricted to any age, sex, caste, race, or any such thing. When our Western devotees were first preaching Krishna consciousness in India, sometimes people used to say to us, you can't be sadhus, you can't be devotees of Krishna. Only Indians can be devotees. They used to say, because they didn't have any experience how Western people could be devotees of Krishna. So they used to say, you wait till your next life, then you can be a devotee. You have to be born in an Indian family. But this just means that they don't know anything about philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, in the beginning, Lord Krishna describes how we are not these bodies, we are eternal spirit soul. So the soul is not young or old, nor Hindu, nor Christian, nor atheist, nor Indian, or Croatian. This knowledge, this is called Adhyatmik Gyan, means pertaining to the spirit. So anyone in any place, time, country, circumstance, they can take to Krishna consciousness. Generally, it is expected that people who have been through many lifetimes of pious activities can take to Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, Yesham Tvantagatam Bhakam Jananam Punya Karmanam Tidvandavohamir Mukta Vijantima Viravrataha. Lord Krishna states that people who have executed pious activities in previous lives and in this life, and who are free from the duality of delusion, they can worship me with firm conviction. The duality of delusion means to see good and bad, hot and cold, pious and impious. To tolerate dualities of happiness and distress. So this means that generally those who have executed the karma kanda system and the jnana kanda system of the Vedic path, they can come to bhakti. They can come to devotion. And as India is the special place within the universe where the atmosphere is more favorable for executing the Vedic path, it would generally be expected that people in India, they would take to Krishna consciousness more easily. Because every place, by the arrangement of God, every place in the universe has its special characteristic. We understand from the Vedic literatures that on the different planets, all the different planets there is light. And different planets have different characteristics. The Svargaloka is the heavenly planet. There are many heavenly planets. Where people who on this planet perform many pious activities go to enjoy sense gratification. There are rivers of nectar there. And both men and women are very beautiful. They are very well behaved. The lifespan is very long. The women are not only beautiful, but their bodies smell so beautiful you can smell them from miles away without having to put perfume. So that is the heavenly planets, and pious materialistic people go there. Then there is Siddhaloka, where all the inhabitants have yogic powers. And on Gandharva-loka, everyone is expert in music. There are so many. You see at night all the different stars. They're all different planets with all different species of life with particular characteristics. So similarly, within this planet, each area has its own characteristic. People have a general kind of characteristic. Just like in America, the general characteristic is that, generally speaking, people have money and facilities for sense enjoyment. That's why you find many people from all over the world are very eager to go to America. If we speak about Italian people, we expect a certain kind of nature, or German people, a certain kind of nature. Because people with similar karma from their previous lives are put in a similar situation. So generally speaking, those who have acted piously in previous lives get the opportunity to take birth in India. Generally. Not in every case. Because we see that some of the greatest demons, like Kanks, they also took birth in India. But generally it is expected that someone who takes birth there can advance in the yoga system, either karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga. But now we see that many people from all over the world are taking up Krishna consciousness and becoming advanced devotees. Because the system of Krishna consciousness, especially as taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it deals away with all the preliminary functions. Even without any preliminary qualification, anyone can take to this chanting of Hare Krishna and become an advanced devotee of Krishna. That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's particular mercy. Now, otherwise, in this age of Kali, people have no hope. Practically all over the world, pious activities are stopped, finished. Which is another reason why so many people are coming to Krishna consciousness. Because there's been so much increase in materialistic consciousness. The people are simply feeling frustrated. Because there is no happiness in material life. This is the great illusion of material existence, and it is particularly strong at the present time. The idea that you can be happy by getting money or by enjoying sense gratification. This idea is particularly promoted in today's modern, so-called advanced, insane civilization. People, they call this progress of civilization. But actually it's insanity. How they put the word progress on it. They're pressing you to buy so many different things. Work hard, get money, buy this, buy that. Different kinds of fashions. You have to have an expensive car, otherwise no one respects you. Just like you see so many people, we drove up from Split, so many people coming from Germany, from Sweden, driving 3 days just to come and lie on the beach. And this is the big event of their year. After a whole year, they have to drive 3 days to lie on the beach for 7 days and again drive back for 3 days. And this is considered advancement of civilization. Advancement of civilization means that we have mechanized slaughterhouses by which in a very scientific manner we can kill hundreds and thousands of animals. And they say we are killing the animals humanely. What does that mean, killing the animals humanely? If I come up to you and say, I'm going to kill you, will you be very happy? You say, no, don't kill me. But I say, I'll kill you humanely, don't worry. It won't hurt. So is that a very good proposition? So in this way, what is sinful and nasty and cruel, they are promoting this as progressive advancement. And as a result, you get situations whereby humans also behave like that to humans. Just like we saw in Bosnia, thousands of houses dynamited, blown to pieces. Now why should anybody do that? Why should they be so much unkind that they go to someone's house and blow them up, and probably blow the people who are inside up also? Because they're already practiced to do them. They don't realize that every time they're eating meat, they're inflicting the same cruelty. So in so many ways, the modern society is promoting lust, greed, anger, cruelty. The result is that people are not at all happy. Now, one of the top paying professions in America and Western Europe is psychiatry.
Psychiatria.
Yeah. Because so many people, especially rich people who've got money to spend on going to psychiatrists, have so many mental problems. But previously there were no psychiatrists, and people didn't have such complex mental problems. Now we've seen in modern society, drugs, they don't even think it's a problem. There used to be so much concern about drug problems, but they gave up on it being a problem. Now it's just accepted as part of life. So why should anyone take intoxication? It just means that people are not satisfied. If you're not satisfied, then you want to take some intoxication, or you may vent your frustration by being cruel to others. So we have a whole society of people who are psychotic, if not Europe. Britain is supposed to be one of the leading countries in the world, somehow. But more than 20% of people in Britain during their life are incarcerated in mental institutions. I'm just saying these things just to point out that modern civilization, it is a failure. When I was a kid in the 60s and 70s, we used to hear how the progress of civilization will bring a better life for everybody. It was thought that if everybody gets education and sufficient money, that everyone will be happy, and then they'll be nice to each other, and there'll be no more problems. What a naive idea. Nowadays we don't hear people talking in these terms anymore. Still, in India and some countries, they still believe in progress of science will solve all our problems. But in the West, they don't. They've given up on it. Everybody knows it's a sick society. Just like you see, the sign is there, McDonald's in Rijeka. Now the Eastern Bloc countries have opened up to American business. But is it really a great benefit for Croatia that now you can get McDonald's in Rijeka? Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola. What is the benefit? Now these countries have more democracy and freedom and all these things. But why should you use it to simply follow the path of the Western countries, which is already a failure? All over the world, everyone is simply imitating America. They want to have big buildings, a lot of business, a lot of cars. This is considered the success of life. In Malaysia, they got a lot of money from oil. So they built up their city, Kuala Lumpur, with lots of skyscraper buildings. The world's tallest building is where? New York? No, Kuala Lumpur. They build a taller building. So anyone who goes there will see, oh, big buildings. They must be very advanced. Unfortunately, almost all the offices in those buildings are empty because there's no business to go in. Even before they built the tallest building in the world, the other skyscrapers they built were already empty. But they just had to show that we also have big buildings. We're also advanced. So this is foolish, childlike imitation. Someone who is more thoughtful and introspective, they will think, why should we follow this? Human life is meant for introspective inquiry into the nature of reality. That is why the Vedanta Sutra begins with the aphorism, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Now we have attained the human form of life, we should inquire into the absolute truth. But this modern civilization completely covers that philosophical nature. Everyone should work very hard, get some money. When you get some free time, watch TV, go to a disco, go to a party. Always be very active, running here and there. Rajaguna, mode of passion. So that no one has time to think, actually, what is the goal of life? And if you run out of energy, you can take some pills which will get you going again. And when you're tired at night, and you can't sleep because you're still too active, you can take some more pills which make you go to sleep. But what is the purpose of life? Those who are more intelligent have to consider what is the purpose of life. Unfortunately, all over the world, many people are considering it. Just like Coca-Cola is in every town and village of the world, practically, so Srila Prabhupada's books are also there. And when people see these books, they can understand that this is a completely different kind of literature. Actually it is. That is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Tadvad visago janataga vitlavo yasmin pati shlokam avadhavitinapi Ramanyanam tasya yashongitan yaj shrivanti gayanti vinanti sadhava. This is revolutionary literature. This is stated in the very text of Srimad Bhagavatam. The word is used, viplav. It directly means revolution. This literature is meant for creating a revolution among whom? Janata means Janata Adha, means sinful population, or misdirected population. This Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for the uplift of human society, especially in its most degraded hour. Srila Prabhupada said that this Krishna consciousness movement will go down in history for having saved humankind in its darkest hour. And actually this is the position. Human society at the moment is at its lowest point of degradation. Despite so much scientific progress, people's nature, their attitude is becoming more and more bestial. When the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord see this, they are very sorry, because they know that this human form of life has to be used properly. This human form of life is attained after going through 8,400,000 species. But only in human life do we have sufficient intelligence to inquire into the absolute truth. So if we use this human form of life properly, we can understand God and go to God, never to return again to this material world. But if in this life we behave like animals, then again we have to go to the animal species. So it's a very crucial situation. We have the opportunity to achieve the highest perfection. But if we misuse that opportunity, then we go to the worst degradation. Especially in this modern age, the whole propaganda of the modern age is to drag us to hell. But at the same time, if we do take advantage of the knowledge in Srimad Bhagavatam, then we can go to Krishna. So it is a great, from the Vaishnava's point of view, it is a great opportunity to save people from degradation and bring them to Krishna consciousness. The Vaishnavas are always thinking how to benefit others. They're very sorry to see people wasting their lives, living like animals simply for sense gratification. So they try to do something to help bring others to Krishna. And that is the principle on which this movement goes on. In this movement, we ask others to take to Krishna consciousness, but then when they take to Krishna consciousness, we ask them, now you have to bring someone else. You've got something good, now give it to others. Now, usually you don't want to give something to everybody, because then you lose it. If I give you 1,000,000 kunas, but then I say, now you have to give it to someone else, and I say, well, what's the benefit for me? That is in material calculations. But in spiritual calculations, if you give Krishna consciousness to others, not only do they get it, but you also get more of it. The more you give, the more you get. In other words, the more you try to bring others to Krishna, the more Krishna blesses you. So this is the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is worshipped by everybody. Brahma and Indra are much bigger. But Brahma in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he came in this world only 500 years ago. In terms of universal time, that's just a few moments. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to inaugurate this preaching movement of Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told everybody he met to tell others about Krishna. He told his devotees, if you have any affection for me, only talk about Krishna. Vishayame ki bhojane ki vajagarame ahar nisha chinta Krishna valahavadana. Whether you're sleeping, waking, eating, lying down, whatever you do, always think of Krishna and chant his holy name. And tell it to others also. Tare deko, tare kaha, Krishna upadesh, Amaratya Guru Hayatara Idesh. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told everybody, whoever you meet, tell them something about Krishna. In this way become a guru and deliver this message. Preaching Krishna consciousness is not just meant for someone like me who comes up and sits on a big seat and sits a garden like this. It's meant for all devotees. So you may think, well, I'm not a devotee. You're all devotees. You're coming and chanting Hare Krishna means you're all devotees. So from the very beginning of Krishna consciousness, you can start to tell others about it. Srila Prabhupada, some of Srila Prabhupada's first disciples, one Grihastha couple, they had a child called Saraswati. At that time she was about 7 years old. So Srila Prabhupada used to appreciate very much how she used to preach Krishna consciousness. She would go to people and say, do you know who Krishna is? And mostly in the Western countries, especially at that time, no. She would say, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, exactly what that meant, she might not be able to explain. But she heard Prabhupada always saying, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So she heard from Prabhupada and she repeated it, that is preaching. So you can do the same thing also. You can ask people, do you know who is Krishna? And they will say, maybe, no. So then you can say, take this book and find out. Now, you can also say Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but you can also give the book which says, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when people get these books, they can understand. They've never seen any books like this in their lives. I was just telling someone this morning that I used to read lots of books, but eventually I got fed up and I threw them all away. Because I could understand, it was just all different varieties of nonsense. Just different confusions for the brain, that's all. But then I saw this book, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And immediately I could understand, this is something special, this is something different. Because when I opened it up, it said, everyone in Vrindavan was always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. So, it was not explained what Vrindavan is and who Krishna is. Because this was volume 2, I got volume 3 first. Just the very style of writing, I could understand that who is writing this, they know what they are talking about, and they have a higher understanding. So, not only me, but so many people all over the world, they're taking these books and understanding this is something very, very special. Maybe you know, recently there was one story from Russia, that one of our devotees was distributing books, Prabhupada's books, in the apartment blocks, door to door. So he opened one door and one lady opened the door. And he said, I'd like to show you some books. He said, no, I don't want any books. But these are very special books. No, I don't want any books. Why? Okay, all the books are useless. They're all completely useless. I used to read so many books, but now I understand they're all useless. Because I got one book, and when I read that, I threw out all the others. So I don't want any of your books. I was thinking, what book is that? So he asked, could I see that book? So she brought him inside the apartment. She saw big bookshelves, completely empty. There's only one book. Bhagavad Gita as it is, by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhakti Swami Prabhupada. There are so many examples like this throughout the world. Every day, people are getting Prabhupada's books, reading Prabhupada's books. Or sometimes they take them home, and after 20 years they read them, and then their life changes. So every time anyone takes to Krishna consciousness, it is very auspicious. We see in the newspaper every day bad news. So many people killed, some earthquake, political problem, economic problem, so many problems. But what is the good news, they don't report. And they don't even know what the good news is. Because the good news is that Krishna consciousness is going on, being spread every day, down and village. Now, all over, throughout the 24 hours, there will be chanting of Hare Krishna throughout the whole world. First, if you see, Mangalarti will be there early in the morning in Calcutta, Bombay, same time. 4:30 in the morning. Then 4:30 in the morning in Pakistan also will be going on. That means half an hour later. In Iran is probably another half hour. So in Iran also, Mangalarti, in Dubai, Bahrain, Muscat, all these places, Krishna conscious movement is spread. And it's time for Mangalarti in Turkey, and Greece, and Yugoslavia. They're like this. All the time there's kirtan going on, book distribution going on. Constant purifying effect. More and more people are coming to Krishna consciousness all the time. So why not get into this nectar? When we first come to Krishna consciousness, we find this is so wonderful. At last I have all the answers to my questions. and a practical process to understand God. Not only practical, but joyful, easy to execute. Chanting, dancing, taking Krishna prasad. So you go from material life to spiritual life. It's a big jump. But we have a secret how to make another big jump. That means not just to practice Krishna consciousness, but to spread it to others. See what you can do to bring Krishna consciousness to others. Krishna is especially pleased when his devotees try to bring other people to Krishna consciousness. So there are many ways you can do that. That way I've been suggesting is you take some Prabhupada's books and distribute them to others. Now there's a very nice program called Once a Week program, that if devotees are living at home and they're busy with their family matters and so many things, at least once a week, take some Prabhupada's books and go out and try and distribute them to others. Or you can preach Krishna consciousness among your relatives and friends, and distribute Krishna prasadam. There's tremendous pleasure that devotees take in seeing others take Krishna consciousness. So this is the way we can ourselves make a lot of advancement in Krishna consciousness. Sometimes we find people are trying to make advancement in Krishna consciousness, but they're pulled back by Maya, because Maya is very strong. This illusory energy has been captivating us for millions of lifetimes. So to get free from it can sometimes be very difficult. But as it said, in fighting, attack is the best means of defense. So instead of just thinking, shall I turn the TV on or not, wrestling with my mind, if we have some program to go out and give Krishna consciousness to others, then automatically we won't be interested in any lower things. Devotees who are trying to spread Krishna consciousness to others, they automatically lose their taste for all lower things. So why don't you try it? Try and bring others to Krishna consciousness. That's how we all came, because someone tried, and by their efforts we came. So see if you can bring others. I think in this country there's very good scope for spreading Krishna consciousness. You see so many devotees from Croatia and different parts of the world, and so many devotees from Croatia, here in Croatia also. Like I was saying, I went to all these small, in Serbia also, Subotica and Sambo, here that Zada, what is that, Czechoslovakia? So, I don't know. So it's very inspiring to see in these small towns, so many people coming. So many people coming, not only from the small town, but from all villages around, who came by reading Prabhupada's books. So there is good scope for spreading Krishna consciousness. And you'll make all the best friends by preaching Krishna consciousness. In this material world, there's no actual friendship. People simply make friends just for whatever they can get out of them. But friendship in Krishna consciousness means we help each other to become Krishna conscious. One man in India, he wrote to me, he was asking me, well, is there anything I can do for you? Because I stayed at his house for some time. So I suggested to him, why don't you, if you want to do something that will make me happy, why don't you sell Prabhupada's books? So he did that, but after some time he wrote back and said, well, I'm losing all my friends. So I wrote back and said, don't worry, Krishna will send you new friends. So after some time he wrote back and said, it's true. By distributing these books, so many people are coming who are interested in Krishna consciousness. I'm very fortunate I lost all those old useless friends, and now I have friends I can discuss about Krishna. And now in that town there's about 20 initiated devotees and many other people who are chanting Hare Krishna. So you don't know what wonderful things will come if you simply ask people to chant Hare Krishna and give Prabhupada's books. Just like this is wonderful. So many of you are coming and chanting Hare Krishna. Maybe you don't think it's wonderful because you come every week, I hope. But I think it's wonderful that all over the world, so many people are taking Krishna consciousness. Even I was mentioning those countries, Turkey, Pakistan, Iran, Bahrain. Even in all these places, there are devotees chanting Hare Krishna. Everywhere, all over the world, people are taking advantage of this Krishna consciousness. Actually, today on Sunday, in India, now the evening program will be finished because of the time difference. Recently, in April, we opened our new temple, a very big temple. The temple room is bigger than this hall. Maybe 4 times bigger. Oh. Beautiful deities of Gaurnitai, Radha Govinda, Sitaram, Lakshman Hanuman. So Every Sunday, 30 to 40,000 people are coming. Huge temple room, but you can't move inside. People are so eager to come and take darshan of Krishna. And in some places, devotees will just be chanting in a small apartment, 2 or 3 people coming. So 30,000 people, not 3 people. It's all pleasing to Krishna. It's all auspicious. It's all the actual alternative to this insane modern civilization. So we hope very soon that this hall will be too small to fit all the devotees in. There'll be no space and we'll have to have another hall. This kind of problem we are looking forward to. So please try and bring more friends to Krishna consciousness. Ask people to chant Hare Krishna. There's no harm. The worst they can say is no. And even if they say no, they heard you say Hare Krishna, they get benefit from that. And if you ask enough people, surely someone will ask more about it, and they may start to chant Hare Krishna. You see what you can do to spread Krishna consciousness. That is my request to all of you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Is there any question? It's one city called Ahmedabad in India. It's one of the biggest cities in India. So recently our International Society for Krishna Consciousness opened a new temple there. They had had a temple there for many years, but recently they opened a new, very big temple. At there's another big festival we have every year in Calcutta that was recently held. That is called Rath Yatra. So that is a parade through the streets. It covers about 12 kilometers of the city. So the police estimate that every year about 2 million people see that festival. Oh, that's it. 2 million people, it's a lot of people.
How can we share this from the Gita is verses in the Bible to try arguing for that?
Well, generally we don't go around trying to make an argument with people saying, throw out your Bible and take the Bhagavad Gita. We don't generally say like that. But if there is some discussion on this point, we can say that the Bible says to love God, but in the Bhagavad Gita we are specifically told who is God and how to love Him. If you are to love somebody, you have to know something about them. At the very least you would expect to know their name. Generally in the Christian tradition the word God is used, or in different, just like in this language I think would be Bog. Would it?
Yes.
That's actually the name of a position. Just like if you say the Prime Minister, that's the name of a position. So if you're giving a lot of respect to him, you'll call him the Prime Minister. But it's more personal if you address him by name. Is there a Prime Minister in this country, or presidential system, or what is it? Is it Prime Minister?
Yes.
It's a Prime Minister. And in his home, you see, what is his name? Matash. Mataji? Matash. I'm sorry, I don't think I'm going to learn this language in my lifetime. Anyway, whatever his name is, he's called, when you say Prime Minister, that defines his position. When you say Matash, what's his full name? Islatko Matash. Okay. So if you say that's more personal. You know, it's not just referring to the position, but to this specific person. When you refer to the position Prime Minister, that means a particular post with a particular function. But when you say his name, then you refer to a person with his own likes and dislikes and moods and all this. And his wife at home must call him something else, very intimate and personal. May call him darling or something like that. Or sometimes she may shout at him because of a very intimate relationship. So in the same way, if we call God, God, that's okay. If we personally know who He is, what His name is, what His likes and dislikes are, that means coming closer and more intimate to Him. But generally, if someone's very convinced in the Bible and this and that, generally we won't try and argue with them and defeat them. There's not much point in that. If people are open to discussion, if they want to understand, then it's worthwhile to present these points to them. We actually don't have any complaint against Christianity, except that people don't follow it. Christianity is very good, but it would be nice to find someone who actually followed it, especially because now they have ascribed to Jesus Christ that He was a meat eater and a drunkard. But this is not actually the biblical version. This has been perverted. It's a historical fact that the original Christians were all vegetarians. They didn't drink, and they believed in reincarnation. But for political reasons, at one point in time the Bible was reinterpreted, and since that time Christianity has been full of meat eating and drunkenness. Many times Srila Prabhupada would speak on this point. One time he took the position of a Christian and asked his disciples to discuss with him. And devotees were offering different arguments. They're saying, well, in Bhagavad Gita it says this. And he would say, well, Prabhupada would say, well, the Bible says this. And they would say, well, you know, we do a lot of prayers in Krishna consciousness. We rise early in the morning. And Srila Prabhupada, taking the position of a Christian, would say, well, we also worship God in our own way. So Prabhupada had said at the point when a devotee said that if you love God, then why don't you follow what He says? Just like in the beginning of the Bible it is said that God gave man dominion over all the animals. That means He gave man, the animals, to look after. But the standard Christian interpretation of this is that man can therefore kill all the animals and eat them. Imagine if I gave you, I asked you, please look after my children, and you ate them. Or even if, that might sound a little extreme, but if you mistreated them, beat them, at best that would be called a gross misunderstanding of what it means to look after them. So anyone who's a little sensitive, they can actually appreciate that the principles we follow in our Krishna conscious movement are very pure principles. Certainly, no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication, raises us to a higher platform of human life. And actually you can't even begin to think clearly, let alone have spiritual realization, if you are indulging in meat eating, gambling, illicit sex and intoxication. So our general experience is if people are like what we would call committed so-called Christians, then we don't waste time arguing with them because they don't want to listen anyway. But if someone is actually interested to understand, then we can discuss with them. I'm sure that Lord Jesus Christ is very satisfied with this Hare Krishna movement. He taught the biblical law that was given to Moses. To love God with all your heart and all your soul. So if Jesus came here today, do you think He would go to the church or He'd come to the Hare Krishna temple? I think He'd be more comfortable in our temple. Comfort means He didn't care for bodily comfort, but He'd feel more satisfied. Because the same spirit He taught is being carried out. Full dedication to God. It's not simply a social institution. Quest for understanding God, which is put number one above everything else, that is there. And if someone actually has the spirit of Christ, they must appreciate this Krishna consciousness movement. Any other question? So what's next? More chanting? Do we have a time limit here? Do we have a time limit? We have to all get out of the hall and cross the time. Where are the stories? Oh, when I put between one packet and then only one packet and then the other goes Very nice question. Lord Chaitanya asked the same question to Haridas Thakur. He said to Haridas that there are so many living beings who are not in the bodies of humans. So how can they be benefited? Haridas Thakur replied, there's a verse in Bengali, Pashu Paki Ki Dadi Balite Na Pare, that the animals, birds and insects, they can't chant Hare Krishna. Shunile Harinam Tara Ottore. But by hearing the holy name, they can also be delivered. So, when we go out chanting, all the different living beings can hear. And even when we chant here, it's not only beneficial for everybody in this room, but it's beneficial for everybody in the whole universe. This chanting of Hare Krishna benefits everybody in the universe. It purifies the whole universe. Very nice that you're thinking how to purify everybody. That's how a devotee should think. Even if he sees a little ant, he may think, give him a little prasad. So I think with that, we should distribute prasad.